Around the country today, a wave of new protests are set in support of the rapidly growing Occupy Wall Street movement. Demonstrations are planned in cities coast to coast, with hundreds vowing to stand fast until corporate leaders are called to task. And their efforts have not gone unnoticed. In an interview just this week, Vice President Biden sided with the groups, saying he understands their frustrations during these tough economic times.
The core is the American people do not think the system is fair or on the level. That is the core of what you're seeing on Wall Street. There's a lot in common with the Tea Party. The Tea Party started why? TARP. They thought it was unfair. We were bailing out the big guys.
But not everyone in Washington agrees. Republican Congressman Paul Brown charges the swelling movement is an attack on America's freedom.
They don't know why they're there. They're just mad, and I see people angry. I see people angry in my district too. But this attack upon business, attack upon industry, attack upon freedom, and I think that's what this is all about.
And Fox News host Bill O'Reilly shares the congressman's sentiments last night, denouncing the gathering as nonsense.
This is about, we don't like America. We don't like anything about it. We're far-left loons. They all have
and the
little
internet.
cell phones.
It's a little ironic.
And the little lattes.
But this isn't America where we have the right to speak up, isn't it? Even if someone doesn't like the message. But don't tell that to this New York City police officer ordered to stand guard of the demonstrations to protect and serve.
My little nightstick is going to get a workout tonight, hopefully.
Why?
I have.
Protect and serve. With me now in New York, William Cohen, former banker and author of the book Money and Power, and joining us from Washington, Dana Milbank of the Washington Post. Bill, you said to me probably 2.5 weeks ago that you were shocked that people hadn't actually protested more aggressively. Well, you went down there yesterday. What did you see?
Well, not only did I say that 2 weeks ago to you, Martin, when I was on Jon Stewart in April, I said the same thing to him. And what I saw was, maybe it was a bit of an off day because Wednesday night was such a big night with their march. I saw a pretty subdued atmosphere. People were sleeping. For the first time, they actually were sleeping in sleeping bags. This was in the afternoon because the group had agreed to spend $2,000 of the $25,000 that they have buying sleeping bags. So I saw a bunch of subdued behavior. I saw a presidential candidate, Martin. Yes, a Harry Braun, who you probably have not heard from, who is running for president, and his big beef is that we have a republic instead of a democracy. Of course, Benjamin Franklin said, of course it's a republic if you can keep it. But his beef is, in a real democracy, our leaders wouldn't be allowed to do what they've been able to do, which is, bail out the rich and give tax breaks to the wealthy and all the things that he's complaining about.
Dana, this started as a loose-knit gathering, a kind of potpourri of individuals desperate to see change. The president acknowledged their existence in his press conference yesterday. But since he can't influence the Congress, I guess it's highly unlikely that any of these demonstrations are going to do so either, are they?
Well, they may have a better chance of it than the president does, and I think the movement leaders so far have been very careful in saying this is not about supporting President Obama and the Democrats. They see them similar to the Tea Party seeing two evils here, and I think these protesters are seeing it the same way. Look, the Congress isn't responding to President Obama because he hasn't been forceful enough, so I think we're starting to see some force in the streets, and that may frighten some of the powerful in corporations and the representatives of the powerful in the Congress. They're not reacting to the president's conciliatory message. Maybe they'll react to a more forceful one.
Bill, isn't the sad truth that Wall Street is frankly paying no attention to these protesters? They're too busy paying lobbyists, what, $5 billion over the last 10 years to keep regulations down, to keep on doing what they've always been able to do.
Well, Martin, as we both know, the whole purpose of the bailout package was to reestablish the status quo on Wall Street as quickly as possible. And that's exactly what has happened. And even the Dodd-Frank law, which at 2,200 pages, no one really knows what it's supposed to do. It's still being implemented. The regulations are still being written. There was a leaked copy of a proposed vocal rule yesterday that got people, crazy in terms of figuring out how they can combat what they're proposing. So I think you're right. I don't think Wall Street is taking this seriously at all. And frankly, part of the reason that they're not is because the protesters, which are a very amorphous group, they have a lot of sort of youthful energy, but I don't think they really understand the nature of Wall Street, the way it works. One fellow I spoke to sheepishly admitted he had no idea what Wall Street did. And, that's fine. That's okay. But I think they'd be a lot more powerful as an organization if they educated themselves about the way Wall Street really works.
And maybe tried to understand, Dana, how close Wall Street and Washington are as institutions.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there is this sort of smugness and arrogance in the corporate world. I think the emphasis has been on Wall Street, but of course that's really a small piece of it. The nub of the problem here is corporations are sitting on $2 trillion in cash while there are 15 million Americans out of work. That's the source of the outrage here, and the corporations are essentially just blaming the Obama administration, whether it's Obamacare, whether it's Dodd-Frank, or anything else. I'm not so sure I agree with Bill that these folks need to be better educated. I think what's important out there is the energy and the anger, and if history's any indication, this is most likely to fizzle out. But it would probably be a good thing if it doesn't, because that'll restore some balance that we've not seen the last couple of years in the political system.
And just a final question to both of you, Dana first. What did you think of Eric Cantor dismissing these people as hoodlums, as mobs, as potentially unsocial and unhelpful?
I've heard that. I've also heard it being described as astroturf, and I think that's the same mistake that the Democrats made at the beginning of the Tea Party movement, and I think the Republicans probably shouldn't make that same mistake.
What do you think, Bill?
Well, I think Eric Cantor is proving himself to be a big part of the problem here, not part of the solution. He's in a position to help pass Obama's jobs bill. He's in a position to try to change some of the things that the protesters are complaining about instead of dismissing them. That is a sure road to nowhere, frankly.
What do you think of Dana's point that this could potentially be a Tea Party uprising for the left?
Well, other people have made that point, too. I happened to be walking with David Carr, the New York Times columnist, afterwards. We both were down there yesterday. He made the same reference. I don't know. I don't see it, because I think one thing you got to give the Tea Party people for, they were very well educated about what they wanted and what their goals were, and they had a lot of money and elected a lot of people to Congress.
They did. They were incredibly effective.
Exactly. And I disagree with Dana a little bit. I think they would not fizzle out as a movement if they better understood what they were trying to go after here.
Bill Cohen and Dana Milbank, thanks very much for joining us.